So if you like these videos where they show you a lot of cooking and baking, well, stay tuned because you're going to be doing a cook and bake with me again today. Hey y'all, welcome back to Grains and Grit. My name is Felicia, and on this channel, we talk about real whole grains, all from a biblical perspective. This video is a bit different because it's yet another kind of cook and bake with me. So we're gonna be making some bread, a large batch of bread. I'm gonna be freezing some bread. I'm going to be baking 2 freezer meals, 3, so 3, maybe 2 or 3, and kind of giving y'all tips and tricks along the way, what I learned, especially with freezer meal cooking, sharing y'all with recipes, and just, you're hanging out with me in the kitchen. This was over just a few day period, kind of a continuation of my last cook and bake with me video that I shared. This video is sponsored by 4 Generations Organic Farms. Thank you very much, 4 Generations, for sponsoring this video, and we'll be talking more about them later on. All right, so it is Saturday morning, or actually noon. I'm late. My husband and I had some things we had to do this morning. So I've got a late start today, but we're going to do the things. We're going to do as much as we can today. As usual, I probably have overplanned, but that's okay. So the first things that we need to do, we need to get the Louisiana style beans going. I did in this pot here. I actually go ahead and soak my kidney beans last night. And they've been soaking the whole time, mainly because that's, it doesn't hurt anything. And then we also have the cowboy stew we need to get going and just a lot of different things. And so we're going to get to it. So first things first, of course, hair has got to go up, and we're just going to put these baked goods away. They've already been cooled while I have a apparently lively conversation with my husband, which I frequently do here in my kitchen because this is where he finds me. Okay, so I reached out to a lot of y'all on Instagram, and it seemed to be the consensus as far as freezing bread. Again, I've never done this before, freezing bread. I always make it fresh. But I'm going to do what a lot of y'all suggested, and that was to actually slice it and then freeze it. So some people said that they would put the slices, like some wax or parchment paper in between them, put them in bags. So I think for ease, I may actually do that, where I take the time, slice it, and then put them in parchment bags, put them in Ziploc bags. We're going to wing it, and we're going to see how this goes. But I thought it was brilliant to go ahead and slice it because one of my friends actually does mill her wheat. So I can assume that she has things like bread knives and knows how to slice whole bread, but not everyone knows this. And I know the other friend of mine does not mill her wheat. I don't know if she has any bread baking experience. So therefore, I don't know if they have like a good bread knife or experience slicing whole loaves. So it'll just make it far easier for them to do whatever it is that they want to do. Another thing that I'm considering is doing it where we have the parchment paper in between them. And actually that would allow me to freeze it flat, which I think might make it a bit easier for them in their freezer than like a whole loaf, So I think that's actually good to slice it, parchment paper, and then to, that way it'll probably help them store it a bit better. But let's label first. So I have actually been told in my research, people were saying all about, like when it comes to freezer meals in Ziploc bags, to just get the name brand Ziploc bags. So as you can see here, these are just the Glad ones, and they worked out fine. But honestly, I've also been using the Walmart brand freezer bags, and they've been working out pretty well. I mean, they feel good. So, let me know. But bottom line, what you see here is this was basically, I figured I had enough room for 4 slices and then parchment in between, and it did fit. I will say, the parchment may have been a bit overkill. It is probably possible to freeze without all the parchment paper because it did make it tight in the bag, but I was able to fit. And yes, once again, I'm continuing on said conversation with my husband. So I can't remember what we were talking about this day, but apparently
it was good because I was laughing a lot. But this is where the struggle comes in, like trying to get it into the bag without squishing the bread. So mainly it was difficult, mainly because of all the parchment paper, but I was able to make it fit no problem. And I felt like it was nice and snug. It froze very well. It wasn't bendy, where the bread's going to be wonky or anything like that. So I think for sliced bread, I may go ahead and keep this up.
You have Alpha Regional. I totally did that. I mean, and I did it flat. Another thing for slicing it is it allows them to store it flat.
So I know that I probably make this look easy of slicing the bread in these slices, but please know this is years of practice to be able to get slices like that. And I still sometimes get wonky slices. It's okay. So practice makes perfect. I do know you can find like on Amazon and places like that, those little bread slicing guides. I personally never used one. I have just done this an insane amount of time that, practice makes perfect. So just keep on at it if your slicers aren't that great. Okay, so here we're going to get started on the Louisiana style red beans and rice. So this is just celery and onions, and I'm just going to go ahead while those are sauteing to go ahead and put all the seasonings together. It's a bunch of seasonings, but again, it's one of those recipes where you just add what you like to it, adjust the seasonings as you wish. And so here we are, we're just adding in the minced garlic, stir it around a lot. These vegetables are just softening as you usually do. And again, this recipe will be below. And then we're just adding all the water, the soaked kidney beans, and then also the seasonings. Give it a stir so this can start cooking for a couple hours or so.
All right, next up we're going to do is start this cowboy stew and this is probably what we're going to do for supper tonight. So it's about 2:30 now, so it'll be pretty good for timing. So we got to get this bacon going. I'm tripling this recipe. This is a super good recipe, I have to say. And I'm actually going to be using baked beans that I made and canned myself. Huge convenience, and they're absolutely amazing. I do recommend them. I will link that recipe down below as well. But now we got to get started with the bacon, cut up some of the sausage, so on and so forth. Let's see. Okay, and then figure out which pot I'm going to do this in. Yeah. Should be fun. But first, we're going to go shop my pantry and get all the ingredients I need. Okay, so a bit of an oops when it came to what I thought I had in my pantry. The recipe calls for sweet corn with the liquid. I thought I had it, but I actually have cream style corn, which, let's see, which do say corn water and corn water and sugar. So instead of, again, I'm tripling the recipe, which I would need 3 cans. So instead of that, I'm going to use 2 cans. And then also, this is what I did last time, but I can't remember. It calls for petite diced tomatoes, 1 can, and then 1 7-ounce can of chopped green chilies with all the liquid. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use 2 cans, 3 cans Rotel, 2 cans of diced tomatoes. I'm going to put this one back. And I think that'll be a good combination. I'm kind of just going by feel. Obviously, if you want less chilies, use more diced tomato than green chilies, but that's what I do with cooking. I never follow the recipe to a T. Okay, we need the onions that we cut up yesterday. Also need potatoes. Now again, it calls for russet potatoes. we're going to use yellow potatoes. So I'm going to use, it says 2 medium russet potatoes. So that's kind of, eyeball it. Okay, so that's kind of equivalent to 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're actually going to add 2 more here. Okay, and then we're needing Okay, so here's a recipe of a recipe conversion example. The recipe here calls for all-purpose flour. Now, I already know this is not a bread, it's a stew. Flour is usually used as a thickener because it calls in one of the recipes 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. When it's that little, I usually use what I have already on hand. So I actually still have some hard white that I milled up yesterday that's still in there, and that's just what I'm going to use. And this is also why I keep milled flour in my freezer for these times where I just need a little bit, and it kind of doesn't matter what I throw in. So that's what I'm going to be using for that. Okay, and then we have everything else. We just need the seasonings and stuff like that. Oh, so we need to brown up the bacon. We also need the sausage. Oh yeah, that's a lot. So hold on. Wow, that's a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so we're gonna move this over. We're gonna get the bacon that we need to brown, and then we also need to brown the sausage in them as well because we need to slice them. So it's just a lot. It's just a lot. We're gonna put on some music. We're gonna jam, and we gotta brown the beef. We gotta brown the ground beef up. We're just gonna do our thing, y'all. Just gonna do our thing. Let's do it. Obviously, if you do not want the bacon, you can leave it out. And again, you'll just be leaving out the happiness, y'all. We'll just be leaving out happiness. Okay, and I do prefer to, I find that it cooks better when I cut it in half. And again, this is all being chopped anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Turn this down a bit.
Okay, so I know all of this area looks a bit of a mess here, but I had it out to show you guys what I was using for the video. But we're just going to start with all of these sausages to be cutting them up into small bits. And so this is just full prep mode. It's the time, obviously, if I was just doing one batch of this recipe, it would not be this many ingredients. But this sausage, you can use beef kielbasa, the pork, I mean, kind of whichever one that you want, depending on your dietary preferences. But this is super, super good. And so then we have all the sausage cut up. Now we're just going to be doing the potatoes. Got to hone my knife again because I've been using it a lot. And then just start adding in all of these ingredients, other ingredients to a big, large bowl because they all get dumped in at the same time later on.
So I have to share with y'all one of my coolest little tools ever. This is from 4 Jars, and it's a jar opener for your canned goods. If you know, you know. If you're a canner, you struggle with getting this open, like spoons, things like that, which is good. We want a good seal. And I'll go and tell you, like, this is a really good seal. It would be a lot, but this, just like that. The first time I used this, I thought my jar wasn't sealed. It came open that fast and that easily. So if you're tired of struggling, this thing is the coolest thing ever. From 4 Jars. They're awesome. And I do have a discount code for y'all as well.
Okay, so again, these are the baked beans that I made and canned myself, and it is super good. It's like a better than Bush's baked beans recipe, and so far, like, we really like this. And I have to say, canning my own baked beans, life-changing. It is so convenient to have my own, and I get to control what's in it. So I highly recommend. Recipe will be in the description box below. And then here we are with the garlic, like all the garlic. I think this is a whole head of garlic, and this little tool here is awesome. It actually helps peel the garlic, and that's my favorite garlic press. Both of these tools are from Pampered Chef. I will link my consultant below. I'm not a Pampered Chef consultant, but I love Pampered Chef. So this is literally the best garlic press of my life. I highly recommend it. And then here we are with the sausage. We're just sauteing this a bit at a time in the big cast iron, setting it aside, rotating all this through, occasionally checking on the Louisiana style beans next to us that we're stirring up. So yeah, multiple things going on in the kitchen, but this is kind of, I feel like, normal life for me, having a billion things going on. And so now we're just going to brown up the ground beef. Again, this, I can't remember how much I'm doing here. I think like 4 pounds of ground beef, because again, we're majorly upping the recipe. And then we're just adding in the onions and then just browning this ground beef in as well. And then we're just setting the seasonings aside that I'm going to need later. And just keep going on. And this is where I have an oops moment, realizing I do not have a big enough pot for all of this. So yeah, I'm just adding in the water, stirring what I can here, putting in the meat. But yeah, there's just no way that this is going to fit. So mental note to self, use bigger pot. And so here I actually am. I'm checking the beans because that is a much larger pot and seeing if those are ready so I can switch out pots. So thankfully the beans were done. So I was able to take that out, wash the pot, and then very carefully transfer these back in, add the rest of the ingredients, and then get this going. So again, this is a very large stock pot. I think it can hold about 2.5, 3 gallons of liquid. But this has got to cook, especially mainly just to get those potatoes cooked.
So one thing I realized about this stew is for some reason, like, it keeps trying to want to stick on the bottom. I had a bit of a scare because in that smaller pot, I guess because I just could not stir it up well. Part of it was starting to burn. It did not completely burn, but starting to. So I was able to transfer it to this big pot. If I had known, would have started in this one. Because the beans and rice, I think I could have easily done in the smaller pot. It did not need this big of a pot. So what I'm doing is I'm just repeatedly stirring up way more than I typically do when it's a single serving. And I don't have it on high either. So I'm just trying to get this heated up because basically what I'm waiting for is the potatoes to be done. And they are not even close to being done, which is very frustrating. My husband also informed me that they would like to go fishing and so would like an early meal today. Well, we'll see how that goes. I also had to put everything on hold because we were really backed up on dishes. And so I was having my kids, they were washing the dishes, putting things up. So hence why it kind of looks a little bit cleaner with things. So I'm just going to keep this. I got this on like a medium heat. I'm just going to get it up and just hopefully these potatoes will be done soon.
All right, so thankfully I was able to get that cowboy stew done. And here I am continuing in the evening. My husband has gone fishing, so I'm actually able to work at night. Usually I don't to spend time with my family, but I am continuing on here. And this is kind of a hack that I see because I don't have all of those little, bag holder thingies that you find. I'll link those below because I only have one and they're awesome. So I found this hack where you could get like these gallon pitchers, put your Ziploc bags in and then fill them. And that actually worked out really well. So these are just the Louisiana style beans, just the beans that I decided to bag. And I'm going to be bagging the rice separately so people can kind of choose how much rice and bean ratio they would like. But the reason I'm measuring this out is because I'm just unsure how much beans I have, how many beans I have here to be able to evenly divide it up between the gallon size bag. So that's why I am just measuring and just trying to get them evenly in the Ziploc bags as much as I can. This is also another tip that I learned from for freezer meal gurus out there on YouTube. Is whenever you have Ziploc bags like this and you want to freeze them flat, to actually put wax paper or parchment paper in between the bags so they do not freeze together. I thought this was genius, and it did work so beautifully. None of these were stuck together, and it was just genius. So I highly recommend that. So I'm cleaning the counter and we're labeling these for the cowboy stew. Just start doing that as well. And I also do recommend to cool these down completely in the fridge before putting them in the freezer as well. Don't put them in warm or hot, just because I feel like it really warms up that freezer, creates condensation, all the things. So this is the cowboy stew. Once again, I'm measuring these out, I believe, to about 8 cups because I think that that's a decent size, and then kind of go from there. And again, pitcher, we're putting it in and go ahead and freezing them. And you're about to see another oops moment because this cowboy stew was like straight off the stove into these bags and it poked a hole and started leaking. That's when I realized, oops. So all of this I just covered up, threw in my fridge to let it cool down to deal with the next day.
All right, so day 3, we're later in the day, much later. It's like almost 3 o'clock. I'm just still trucking along. So I didn't do all this in one day. I even skipped a day. I'm just kind of doing it whenever I can fit it in. But we're going to continue on with the plan. So I want to do up the apple crisps. We need to make that honey chicken thingy, garlic honey chicken, which these are all things that I'm not going to be cooking. I just need to assemble and then freeze. Other than that, we've got the cowboy stew that is frozen. The beans and the Louisiana style beans have been frozen. I actually do have the rice that I need to divide up to go ahead and have that frozen. The bread is frozen. I've done some egg muffins already that were frozen. I would like to make some more. And then I still need to make bread for my family today. So basically, y'all are just with me in the kitchen, and we're just going to do the things today. So a few things. Breakfast this morning was strawberry muffins, and then I also had some bananas and it used up. So I actually made some banana bread today. I slightly overcooked it. This is Sue Becker's banana bread recipe out of her Essential Home Ground Flour cookbook that I do recommend. I will link it for you guys, but it's her banana bread recipe. Now she actually calls for, I believe it was like 40 minutes, or sorry, 50. I will find it in a minute. She actually said 45 to 50 minutes to bake. I doubled the recipe, but I put it in 2 loaf pans. Mine, I probably needed for only 40 minutes. At 40 minutes, I checked it. The toothpick came out a little with some things in it. My gut was telling me to pull it out and let it rest in the pan. I didn't. I cooked it for another 4 minutes, and then my husband said that it was just slightly overcooked. Still good. Warm it up, slather some butter on it. It's still really good, but trust those instincts, people. I'm telling you. So I got the rice here. This is milk I'm thawing out, and then this is that cowboy stew that I put in. I learned some things when it comes to freezer meals. Is I was impatient, and the cowboy stew was still very, very hot whenever I was bagging it up. And I think it caused the bag to melt a little bit, or either way, there was a hole that started. I saw a little bit of a leak. So I kept it in here, and I immediately put things in my other fridge that I call like my milk fridge. It's very, very, very cold. So like things with the rice, things I wasn't able to get to, I just put it in there to like cool down. And then when it completely cooled down, then and was like really cold, then I started freezing things. So I do know that genius tip from whoever I got it from, whenever we're using the Ziploc bags and you're freezing several things flat in Ziploc bags, I saw that to put wax paper in between the Ziploc bags so that way they don't freeze together, which I've had happen before. Genius tip. It works. I highly recommend it. And then I'm just freezing flat as well on cookie trays that I have. And so far, everything's been freezing beautifully, wonderfully. Love it. So I'm going to rebag this one, just double bag it, And then we're going to get that already out there frozen, get the rice going. I got to put these up, put the banana bread up, and just start with the things. If you're wondering about all the eggs behind me, we're separating them. Some I'm taking to my homeschool co-op tomorrow because I've got ladies there who like to have fresh farm eggs. So that is being separated out to make sure I'm not giving anyone old eggs. These are older eggs that we'll be using up today. And yeah, so my girls are laying almost like 2 dozen a day. And so I'm kind of swimming in eggs a little bit, kind of swimming in eggs. Okay. So funny joke is going around my house. Some of my sons have been putting these little lizards, little toy snakes and stuff in my fridge on top of it. So I get a surprise every time I open my fridge. Or they place these randomly around my kitchen. Kind of been hilarious to them for me to find. Thankfully, they're not that scary. So it's just kind of a running joke. So if you see these randomly pop up, that's my boys. My boys. Trying to do is determine how much rice do I want to put in them, because I'm thinking, and it's going with the beans and rice for a meal, thinking of the size of their families. So I'm thinking they probably need I think I'm going to do 8 cups in each one. Better to have a bit more rice than not enough. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. 8 cups in each one. I will say, as far as cooking this much rice in the Instapot, it did work out well, but I think I do want to add a little bit more water next time, and I think possibly cook longer. So I cannot remember what I said, so I'm going to look back to see what I said on the video, and then I'm going to put up here on the screen what I plan on doing different next time. Honestly, I think I'm still going to cook it my normal 35 minutes that I do, and the ratio that I've done in the past, because I think that just might work better. But either way, it is cooked, and the fact I don't mind, because it just seems just a smidge undercooked, not cooked enough. But considering this is going to be frozen and they're going to be reheating it, I'm okay with that, because that way when they reheat it, they can reheat it to where it is cooked. So so I don't mind it being slightly undercooked when it comes to freezing it to use later. So not a big deal. And yes, my hands are clean. I did wash my hands as I'm messing with everyone's rice over here. So it is okay. Oh no! You've got to be kidding me. Oh, that was about half a cup of rice that's been spilt on the floor. I knew that was going to happen. I have it where, I guess because my fridge is just so cold, I mean, it almost partially froze some of this rice. And I knew, oh man, I just knew that was going to happen, because this is kind of all in a one big clump here. Ah! Oh well, mistakes in the kitchen, we will clean up. So it is okay. Man, that went flying. Oh. Mistakes happen, though. Mistakes happen. That is not my first. It will definitely not be my last. I know that. Okay. Yeah, that stuff was everywhere. Good thing is at least not sticky, because that would be a pain. This is at least dry. This is dried out enough where I can just sweep it up pretty easily. Thank heavens. to know 8 cups of uncooked rice gave me 3 bags of 8 cups of cooked rice. So that is 8 times 3. So they gave me 24 cups of rice. So 8 cups of uncooked rice gave me 24 cups, roughly. Yeah, 24 cups of cooked rice. Cool beans, I need to do this more often. Not that it takes me that long to do rice in the Instant Pot, but bottom line is I still need like an hour, because even though a couple cups of rice can be cooked in say 25 minutes or so, you got to take time for it to get pressure up and then to release naturally. So this would be faster for me to just pull it out, quickly reheat it on the stove top. So you never know. You never know. Or whenever I need this. All right, so let me, what have I buy? Got a bag. All right, so we need to make some bread. I'm going to go in and get that started. Got the wrong camera here. So need to make some bread. Go in and get that started. And then while this is kind of resting, kneading, all the things, we're going to be doing other stuff as well. So I'm actually going to be trying a new, kind of new type of wheat. Not really. I mean, it's a type of hard red, but it's 4 Generations sent me their Yakora wheat berries, which I've actually never tried. And if I remember right, this is a variety of hard red winter wheat that I believe was started in Mexico. I'll put it up here if I'm correct on that or not. But I've actually never tried this variety of hard red wheats, because yes, there are a variety of the hard reds and the hard whites and all the things. So this is one of the ones now. At the moment of this recording, they are out, but I think they're harvesting soon. So if you're interested, that is one of the things that they sell. grainsandgrit.com/4generations. And then I do have a coupon code. I'll list that all here for you if you want to shop. But I've never tried it before. We're going to try it. And we're also going to do my large batch for bread. So I haven't decided yet if I'm going to be making cinnamon rolls with any of that or rolls. But just right now, we're going to at least probably crank out about 5 loaves if all else fails, because I'm going to be gone all day tomorrow. And I just need some to stock up. So we're going to get this started. Now, I usually do have lights overhead because it's funny. It looks lighter on camera than it is right here. So that way I can always see at my baking station. I love these, by the way. They're plugged in Amazon underhead light, but I turned it off because it's a bit harsh on the video. So we're just going to be mixing this up and go from there. Yay.
So now I would like to take the time to actually let you guys know about 4 Generations Organic Farms. I have been using their wheat berries for quite a while, and I love them. And I love that I can get organic wheat berries that are shipped straight to my house. And they actually have multiple sizes. As you can see here, that was a little 5-pound bag. But 4 Generations Farm has actually been on their land since the 1800s in Oklahoma. And they really, really care about their soil and regenerative practices, making sure their soil is healthy so their crops are really healthy as well. And so I highly recommend 4 Generations Farm, especially if you're looking for those organic wheat berries that are clean and you're looking for another source, because they do have their own varieties of hard red and hard white. They are delicious. So highly recommend them. Check them out. Just go to grainsandgrit.com/4generations. And here we are. This is the honey that I get from Azure Standard. I like to get them in the gallon size buckets and then put them in these smaller mason jars in my kitchen because it's just easier to handle. Just know it's sticky. It creates a mess, but that is okay. And now it's time. We've soaked that flour. Again, if y'all haven't seen this video, if you don't know how to make my bread, I'll link it up here for you guys for my simple yeast bread loaf recipe. Now, what you see here is like way bigger of a batch. I can get 4 to about 5 loaves of bread in my Bosch Universal Mixer. It's so much that I do have to mill some more in between. It doesn't all fit with my Wonder Mill. So next to it, you see the Nutrimill Artiste mixer. She's great as well, but she cannot handle as much as the Bosch. So Miss Betsy Bosch is a boss and a lover, and that's why I use her. And so I do recommend that. And here we are. It is time to cut up the chicken. So we raise our own chickens and butcher them. So for me, I have whole chickens that I always work with. And this is for my honey chicken recipe. It's an Instant Pot recipe or slow cooker recipe. And all that I'm doing today is I'm actually going to be cooking it for my family in the Instant Pot and then freezing it uncooked for later. So it's kind of just a dump and go Instant Pot or crock pot type recipe. And yes, I have a lot of experience cutting a whole chicken. I do recommend whole chickens because then you can save the carcass like you're about to see here. I put it in a bag and I make stock with it later. But here we go. We have the 2 breasts that are huge. And then I get the 2 wings, the 2 thighs, and the 2 legs. And, you know, it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. You just need a sharp knife. And I do it pretty quick, not this fast. This is sped up, but you can do it. It's pretty quick. And then from here, for this particular recipe, I do like boneless chicken. And so I'm just cutting up the breast to smaller pieces and then also actually deboning the other ones, save the bones, throw it into my bags for chicken stock that I'm able to use later on. And here we go with this massive amount of dough. I have to say, it makes me happy. Let me know if a lot of bread dough and the feel of it makes you happy as well, because it does for me, but maybe I'm weird. But yes, this is a lot of dough. And I actually decided because we needed bread, I went ahead and just made a batch of rolls, and the rest of it, we're just going to be making loaves for later. Okay, so now that the loaves are rising, I'm just mixing up all the ingredients for this honey chicken recipe. So again, this is a recipe I will link for y'all below. It is wonderful for the Instant Pot or slow cooker recipe. And you just also, you know, serve it over rice or serve it by itself. I mean, whatever you're wanting to do, but it's super delicious. So we're just mixing up all the things. And then I'm going to be throwing some into the Instant Pot for tonight for supper for my family. And then the rest of it, I'm going to be dividing it up in other bags, which unfortunately for some reason I did not get on video, but just know I did. And it's been put in other bags and frozen, and it also froze very well.
All right, y'all, that is it. So I don't know what happened to some of my video. The honey chicken turned out amazing, served it with rice. I highly recommend that. And again, all the recipes, all links for anything that I can think of will be listed in the description box below, so be sure to check that out. The freezer meals turned out wonderfully. I've already given them to my friends who recently had their babies, yay, and they love them. So it is pregnant, postpartum mama approved. As I mentioned, be sure to check out 4 Generations Organic Farms for their Yakora wheat. Again, this is still later. It is coming soon on harvest, so if they don't have it, keep checking back because harvest should be happening pretty soon. Just, again, grainsandgrit.com/4generations. Use code grainsandgrit for 10% off. And I'm going to go ahead and let y'all go. Thank you so much for staying to the end of this video, y'all. And hopefully you learned something, or at the very least, I was a friend with you in the kitchen. And be sure to comment below letting me know what goodies you like to make in the kitchen, and especially share with me your freezer meals. I'm kind of in a freezer meal kick now, and I need some ideas. So as always, y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.